So this is the first photo I ever saw of Myfanwy. I've been looking for a Greatwheel for maybe almost a year, but by that point I'd gone on ahead and given up. I was living in Missouri at the time, and wool wheels, especially ones that weren't miner-headed, were more or less impossible to find in one piece, not to mention in some sort of working condition. Then a friend of mine visiting family in the middle of nowhere, Illinois, texted me out of the blue saying, "Hey, are you still looking for that big spinning wheel?" followed by this picture. I called her and walked her through all the necessary tests to see if it was even possibly usable, and 3 days later, when my friend with a station wagon was able to drive me the 6-hour round trip to pick it up, I was $200 lighter and one rescue wheel heavier. Also, they threw in a stool for some reason, but it's the perfect height for my antique Benjamin Pierce flax wheel Sarah, so that's nice too. But as far as Myfanwy, while she was in good enough working order to work mostly, at the time I hadn't realized exactly how closely the stars had to align for her to work perfectly for any length of time. Anyone who has a barn-kept antique wheel knows the type. Judging the aesthetics of her spindles and maidens, I don't feel like her table and legs matched, but by the time that I got through with getting her in order, she ended up being a Frankenwheel for sure. Myfanwy is held together by her original wooden pegs where possible, but also by cut-up beer cans wrapped around her axle to thicken it and alleviate rocking, which I won't show due to the delicate nature of her balance, where the wheel is, in turn, held in place by bobby pins and hair ties. The wheel arm in the table is held in place from rocking by a tied-up series of rubber bands acting as a sort of rubber washer held taut from the rocking backwards by leather stripping tied to one of her back legs. The support for the wheel arm is also pretty rickety, still held on by some very inelegant strips of leather. Her spindle, which was missing the stopper from the cop, I've rectified with a cardboard circle cut out of a Boda box. And the cracking parts and joins of the rim of her wheel itself I've pulled taut by lashing it down with some crocheted cotton. There are some things that I can't actually rectify, like this massive split down the length of her table. There are also several cracks throughout the mother of all, and her legs are pretty rotten and powdery when they're removed, so it's inadvisable to move her at all. That makes my spinning with her a very deliberate act. Now Myfanwy lives at my house with her two sisters, one far her senior, Sarah the Flaxwheel, previously mentioned, around about 180 years old, and Vivica, a Merlin tree roadbug that is turning 3 this year. They're holed up in my sunroom most often, where it's really hard to get a good picture of them all, so here are the 3 of them at my last house. Vivica is actually currently in the living room, and Sarah really is rather mobile as well, so Myfanwy has her own corner to herself. But because of that, that's where I filmed these next few segments, and I'm really sorry about the mess. Whenever you're watching this, I made this during the plague, so I had to temporarily vacate my studio during lockdown, and most of the contents are piled up against the wall behind me. Hi, so this is Myfanwy. That's my dog. He has a lot of anxiety, so he can't leave me alone. But I finally got her up and running today. She's been running on and off for quite some time, but today, for some reason, I guess the stars aligned or somebody sacrificed a chicken down the street, and she's working. So I guess I'll show you how she does. Although now that I've said something, she's probably not going to work. But we'll see. Okay, that's user error though.
Okay, so she's got a really warped wheel, as you probably saw while I was spinning with her. It's in pretty good, well, I mean, moderately good working condition. I just got a couple good minutes of spinning in. I kind of have to go back in every, I don't know, about 5 minutes and sort of realign her. But otherwise, you know, she spins all right. Yeah, you know, it's a fairly decent wheel for as bad of shape as she's in. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to long draw spin some cotton sliver. I've had this stuff for a couple years now. I got it from the Yarn Barn in Lawrence, Kansas. It's pretty great stuff, but honestly it's just kind of been my troubleshooting sliver for this wheel, because I had several pounds of it, and I'd never really spun it on my flax wheel. So when it finally came time to try and get this young lady up in going condition, I had enough of it that I wouldn't be hurt trying to throw stuff away. But as you can see, I'm not incredibly concerned with the quality of the thread that I'm spinning. It's a little bit more just kind of making sure the wheel itself feels right, and she's kind of getting back through her paces. So Myfanwy is an early 1900s maybe wheel. So a couple wheel friends and I were kind of talking, and we think maybe 1910, something like that. You know, could be as young as maybe the 20s, but just due to the overall condition of her wood and just the questionable provenance of all of her pieces, we can't really tell, and there's nothing dateable on her because she was barn kept for some time, so she is pretty raggedy. And also in part just due to the fact that this wheel is so finicky. I'm not awesome at spinning on it. But, you know, that just goes to show. But again, like I said, I'm not too terribly sad about throwing away however much of this cotton I end up going through. That's a loss. But anyways, you get the picture.